We'll continue from where we ended in our previous lesson, where we're looking at malware. We looked at a number of types of malware that exist. So today we'll continue with the other type, which is the worms. And worms are spread via software vulnerabilities or phishing attacks. Once a worm has installed itself in the computer's memory, it starts to infect the whole machine and in some cases the whole network. Now, worms are similar to viruses. While viruses need a user's action to spread, the worms do not require that. It can spread on its own by exploiting the network or system vulnerability. So it is designed to overload the network servers by consuming what we call bandwidth. Now, worms store a convenient backdoor for hackers, and they infect large numbers of computers, which will consume bandwidth and overload the web servers as they go. Now, a worm is a computer program that can run independently. It can also propagate a complete working version of itself onto other hosts on a network. And may actually consume computer resources in a destructive way. Worms modify and delete files. They will also inject malicious software onto computers. They will replicate themselves over and over to deplete the system's resources, and then also steal your data. So to catch the worms, or to get rid of the worms, or to identify that you have a worm, anti-malware needs a signature and a behavior-based analysis. What this one will do is it will also have a network monitoring feature to catch it, since worms spread through the network. Now, the next one that we look at is the virus. Unlike worms, the virus need an already infected active operating system or program to work. Viruses are typically attached to an executable file or a Word document. Most people are probably aware that an .x file extension could lead to issues if it's not from a trusted source. But there are hundreds of other file extensions that denote an executable file. Now, virus is a type of malware that can copy itself and it can spread to other computers. It spreads by attaching itself to other files. If there is a virus on your system, it can't take any action unless you, the user, executes it. The viruses can delete and corrupt the computer files and make the computer unusable. Now, viruses usually spread via infested websites, file sharing, or email attachment downloads. A virus will lie dormant until the infected host or file or program is activated. Once that happens, the virus is able to replicate itself and spread through your systems. Now, it can also be identified as a hidden self-replicating section of the computer software that propagates by infecting other programs or systems memory. And there are about two types of virus, which means the viruses can be grouped in two types of what we call the transient virus. And this one is active only when the host program is active. Then the other type is what we call the resident virus, which establishes itself in the computer's memory and can remain active without its host. Now, how do viruses propagate, or how do they work? So, the first thing that the virus will do is it's going to attach itself to a program installer file, and when the user activates the virus or activates that installer, the virus will be active. So the installer can be a software that maybe you think is legit, and the moment you click on it, then the virus also alongside will also be installed. Now, the virus will install itself in all programs currently running in the memory. So for as long as you have got programs running in the memory, the moment you execute that virus, then all those programs will be executed also. After that is done, the virus will now spread further whenever any of the infected programs have been executed. That is the first way in which virus will propagate. The second way is the virus is contained in an attachment, let's say an email or an SMS message, and the user activates that program containing the virus by just opening the attachment. So you receive an email and there's an attachment with it. You decide to open the attachment, and the moment you open it, then the virus will install itself and it will spread. So that's how the virus will propagate or will spread. Now the next type of malware is what we call the hardware. So hardware is one of the best known types of malware. It serves pop-ups and displays ads that often have no relevance to you. Now, some users will put up with certain types of hardware in return for free softwares, which is very common. You find that you're going to install a program on your computer or on your phone, and what happens is that when you want to access that program, you will be asked, or you are going to notice that there are going to be some adverts there. So I have an example that I will show to you of this program that I have installed. It's called, okay, you may not be able to see it, but it's Office Suite, and each time I open it, it will bring me some adverts. It will bring me some adverts each time I want to use it. So in this case, I'm opening a program there, and what you will notice is that just here below, there are adverts that keep on running time and again. Now those are what we call the hardware. Now what happens is that when you click on it, it may sometimes not be a legit program. It may be a malware, which may also lead to other malware being delivered. Say, even for instance, the spyware. So it's a type of malware which is very common, and we usually will fall very prey to it. And it's advisable that you don't click on any of those adverts that appear or pop up when you are accessing either your documents on your phone, or sometimes it can even be games. The other type of malware is the logic bomb, and the logic bomb is a malicious program that activates when specific or specified conditions are met. Usually it's intended to cause denial of service, which is the DOS, or it may damage the system resources. The other one is called the time bomb, and it's a malware, and this type of malware activates at a specified time and date. So the previous one, it's when conditions are met, specified conditions are met, while this one when the specified time and date is reached. Other attacks will include what we call a script attack, and it's a malicious code written in a scripting language, and that is downloaded when the user loads a web page. The other one is what we call a backdoor. It is a method that bypasses the normal authentication process. So a developer may create a backdoor so that an application or operating system can be accessed for troubleshooting or for other purposes. Now, that is about the types of malware that we have prepared to look at, and there could be many more, which I will urge you to also read about the other ones that you're going to come across. Now, attributes of malicious code. So malicious code can be considered from 4 different perspectives. The first one is harm. Now, consider the extent to which the malware program causes harm, And in this context, you have to look at how does this code negatively impact the users of the system. The second part is the transmission or propagation, and we can consider the way in which malware transmits or propagates itself. So how does the code replicate or spread? That's one also attribute that we need to really understand when we're dealing with malware. The other one is activation. Now, under activation, we can consider the ways in which a malware propagates, a malware program becomes active. How is it activated? Is it when a specified conditions are met, or is it when a particular period is reached, or is it when a particular program is clicked or installed? That is also the third part of our attributes. The last attribute is the step. So under the step, we basically have to consider the step characteristic of a malware by determining how the program hides itself to avoid detection. So there are some programs that will lie dormant so that they cannot be detected, and then when particular conditions are met, then or particular period is met, then it will also now come active, and that's the time you would have noticed that you have that type of malware. So those are the 4 attributes. Now, there are some signs that we may need to look at so that we are aware that we have an attack, or we may have an attack, or we have been visited by viruses. So these ones we may look at 6 of them. So the first one would be when your computer is slow, it is crashing, or it is freezing. You may also suspect that there's a malware on that computer. The other way would be if you have what we call a BSOD, or a blue screen of death. When you notice that one, I think you should also reconsider and think that you have malwares that have infected your system. The other one is programs running and closing automatically or changing themselves. Those also are signs that may lead to malware infecting your system. The fourth one could be lack of storage space. So eventually you find that your space is finished, and each time you try to look where is this space going, you can't really figure out. It also could be as a result of the malware. Increased pop-ups or toolbars and other unwanted programs would also be a warning sign that malware have infected your system, and you see this each time you are on the internet and you open a software. This pop-up comes, there's a toolbar, it moves, different types of notifications come. Now, the other method is through emails and messages being sent without you prompting them. So you discover that you have sent messages, people are replying to messages that you never sent to them. You could suspect that there is a malware that has affected your computer. So there we are. So those are the 6 types that we looked at. Now, the last part that we'll try to discuss is the motivation of malware creators. So the motivation of computer malwares or computer viruses creators can be summed up in 3 categories, but we'll look at them in detail. So the first category is for profit. Most ransom applications like the WannaCry as well as crypto miners fall under this category. This motivation is common amongst computer virus creators. So they do it for money. So money motivates them, they want money. The second category is what we would look at, they want the world to burn, or some people create malware in order to prank others or take down critical infrastructure such as dams or power plants, or it could be banks. The last one is national state actors, or any group waging a cyber warfare or activists, and their motivation is to take down or a perceived threat that and to cause damage to an enemy state. The Stunet is a type of virus that is common, that falls under this category and is created to the intent of the third category. Now, other motives would be for spying reasons. So, and under spying, it would be as a nation, or it would be as a company, or it could include industrial espionage. Now, the others would be activism,